It's easy to fall into the trap of mindlessly repeating the same routine over and over again. Every once in a while, we need to be reminded to stop and reflect. To meditate on whether what you're doing makes sense. To find out how to get out of the loop and do what gives you joy. There's no need to measure how productive each of your actions is. Some of it should just be play. Anyhow, I was telling you that it's easy to fall into the trap and not question what you're doing in your day-to-day. That's exactly what, as I understand, happens in the Greek myth of Sisyphus, in which a man is condemned to repeat a useless task day after day. Hey, it's Nono, and this is the Getting Simple podcast. Hello everyone, our guest today is Daniel Natoli from Periferia Films. A friend of mine who studied architecture in Malaga but refocused his creative life into film. His cinematographic production focuses on non-fiction, documentary, and experimental formats. His works have screened at Malaga's Film Festival, Seville's European Film Festival, Cinemed, Alcine, or Cortada, among other events. Currently, Dani directs the movie producer Periferia Films, developing new film projects and distributing his latest works. You can find his latest work at periferia.tv. That's periperia.tv. Or simply Google Periferia Films. Hello, Dani. How are you today?
Hi, Nono. Happy to be here.
This episode is a commentary on the making of Sisyphus, the first short film of Getting Simple, that we're releasing online today. And you can watch now at gettingsimple.com/film or visiting the link in the episode notes. Sisyphus, spelled Sisyphus, is my latest collaboration with Dani and Periferia Films, and I'd like to give special thanks to Marina Diaz Garcia and Pablo de la Osa for their collaboration in this project. How was your experience making Sisyphus, Dani?
Well, I have to say it was an enriching experience. We had complete freedom to develop the plotline and all creative aspect of the movie, and that's always a really nice place to start.
We met a few times over the course of 2019. I had a vague idea that I wanted to do an audiovisual experiment for Getting Simple. Some ideas had to do with recording an interview on video, maybe create a video feature of one of the podcast guests and their work life and location. And another option was to do a short film, what we eventually ended up doing with Sisyphus. I remember writing a booklet that I printed and handed over to you, Dani, with short ideas for scripts that could later be further developed. Why do you think you chose to develop the idea that turned into Sisyphus?
I think I wanted to work around the idea of our daily routine, repetition and loops, basically. Repetitive processes are a part of our lives that could be expressed both in the plot and style of the movie. And in this sense, the movie talks about repeated individualities that happens around the world day after day. Stylistically, each sequence is a cinematograph that loops over and over to reinforce that idea. Plot and style go hand in hand, and the framing of Getting Simple was perfect to experiment with this theme.
We recorded 3 different days. The first was a morning at Apertura, a film school here in Malaga, where we recorded in studio all takes that had to do with inside rooms like the breakfast or reading scenes, or all scenes that had to do with work. The outside scenes and inside scenes where I appear running were recorded in Gibralfar's Mount, Fuengirolas' beach, Malaga's auditorium, and the Fest building of University of Malaga. What were your references to make this movie?
Well, I contemplate the references at all levels. The plot has something of the repeated routine of Groundhog Day or the Russian Doll series, but with the dystopian and dehumanized treatment, as in the animated short film The Employment. And regarding aesthetic references, there is a lot of Piranesi or Giorgio Chirico too. Also something Bersonian, presenting an aesthetic world with a limited set of scenery. And of course, I also believe there is a strong influence of my architectural training on the photography, composition, and location of each of the scenes.
We were happy when we heard that Sisyphus was selected to screen at the Seville European Film Festival and premiered in Teatro Alameda on November 14th, 2019. And then it was selected as well for one of the categories at Malaga's Film Festival. And due to COVID, it was postponed and screened last month in August 2020. You've been to film festivals before, Dani. How was your experience this time, watching the movie on the big screen?
To watch one of your projects on the big screen always gives you a special sensation. regardless of how easy digital platforms make it to watch movies without leaving the house, the experience of watching film at the cinema is unique. For me, it was really special to watch Sisyphus in Seville, in a film festival I have been following closely for years, and I have as a reference of independent film in Spain. To screen Sisyphus there for the first time was a gift.
What other projects have you been working on lately?
Actually, we are working on a few different projects. We are looking forward to releasing a new piece we made for a campaign of Junta de Andalucía sports centers, but the release has been postponed due to COVID. Along the same lines, we are close to releasing another piece on contemporary architecture, a collaboration with two dance theater ballerinas that explore the relation between space and body. And in the short term, we are working in the editing of a documentary about Maro, a small village in Malaga, with the Sevillian producer Criocrea, that will see the light around the end of September, I hope. And wrapping up, another short film titled Palincesto, another experimental fiction movie that also orbits around repetition.
Why do you think you ended up in film after studying architecture?
Oof, it's a complicated answer. I'm not really sure. We often try to construct a coherent story of how we got to where we are today or how life happens, but I guess that many different things brought me to film. I finished my studies in the middle of the 2008 crisis, a really complicated moment in which many of my colleagues departed from architecture and decided to explore other subjects. My later efforts to develop creative works influenced my search for what to do next. Derivacia, for instance, was one of the personal projects I did years ago, in which I had my first contact with a camera, and of course, my love for cinema, sure.
And before we wrap up, Danny, where can people connect with you online?
You can find me on my personal Instagram account at @the_Natoli or at Periferia Films Instagram at Periferia TV. And you can also email me at natolirojo@gmail.com or periferia.films@gmail.com.
Well, Danny, thanks so much for your time.
It's been my pleasure, Nano. Thanks for the opportunity to develop this project together.
You can watch Sisyphus online now at gettingsimple.com/film or visiting the link in the episode notes. If you want to ask a question, go to gettingsimple.com/record and hit record. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.